Okay, a few more people are back, so I'll just go through this again. And actually I'll comment on your question in a minute, Nicole, because there's a good story behind that occurs to me. Okay, we're going to do grammar, punctuation and spelling, but just think about these things. Keep your language gender neutral. No man has an uncertain future. You know, man, humanity. Just little stuff, but you know, be aware of it. Spoken forms, contractions, slang, idioms, metaphors. Take them out of academic writing. Loaded words we've talked about. You know, destroying unborn babies, that sort of thing. Let the logic and the evidence do your convincing work, not the pathos. Let the ethos, the reputation of your sources do the persuasive work, not the emotional elements in your choice of words. Try to get a nice varied sentence length. Nothing too long all the time, not too short all the time. You know, short, short, long, long, short, long, short, 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 long, you know. It just adds a bit of variation. That's what we should be aiming at. So those are some of the things, apart from, I mean, most of the time you're going to be focused on this, sure. But I just put those up there as other things to consider. In relation to the question, how long do people spend? It's an interesting one. I can't answer the average, however, I can answer an extreme case. And it's an interesting extreme case. About 5 or 6 years ago, it's actually the person's husband, so it's a woman in diploma, and the person's husband actually, a lot of the critical thinking and essay fallacies come from his essay. She failed her first essay in first term. One of the reasons she failed it was she was underconfident and cut and pasted too much, and it was plagiarised, and I had to call her in and sit down and say, you know, what's this, and we had to talk that through. You know, often part of it is because people don't feel confident enough, and they, oh, I'll just borrow this for a while, I'll give it back again later, you know, and it's full of copied stuff. Well, that's a big problem. Okay, so, you know, she had a real problem, she failed it. So, second essay, what she realised is she'd need a lot of time to work on it, because she was one of the lower writers. So, what she did is she worked out her next topic really early on, like about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, like about now, for next term. So she gave herself the longest time possible, selected the public intellectual, and started research. And by the end, pretty much the end of first term, she'd finished her research, started even writing in the holidays, right? So in other words, her first draft was finished about 7 weeks or more before the due date. So what she did in that time is all the tricks that we've talked about. So using the activator, using collocations, using thesauruses, running it through the vocabulary profiler. Every single resource, well actually, okay, what happened was, I should have told it in a different sequence, I got her second essay. I didn't know any of this. I got her second essay. It was so good. I thought, oh my God, she's copied this again. Yeah. So I put it through the supercomputer here, and it said no. And I sent it to my friend at Adelaide University, and said no, not plagiarised. I thought, what? What's going on? You know? So I asked her, and we sat down, and I said, you know, did you get help? No. She said, I'll bring my notes in tomorrow. I'll show you. She brought in this whole stack of notes and all the drafts. She did about 6 or 7 drafts, like one a week. And each draft she did, like, she took the activator and just spent a week with the activator, pulling up the vocabulary, you know. And then those words she'd chosen, then she put them into just the word and got all the best collocation. Because I was marking this thing thinking, these are just native-like collocations of all these sophisticated words, just all the way. Anyway, all these resources, she just pulled it from, no doubt the first draft was, you know, pretty ordinary. But she just pulled it up and up and up and up and did about 7 drafts using these resources. And she got this amazing result. I think it's a really interesting case, you know. It demonstrates that with time and the right resources and, you know, time and energy and focus. And I guess the fact having a big problem really pulled her up and made her really serious about this. But it was a really, really interesting example. And I've never really forgotten it.
Pretty much it's hard work and determination.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And using the right resources.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could work and draft and redraft, but not using some of those, you know, like the activator, for example, that can give you pretty good insights into what words to choose and so on. And then, but then she cross-checked them with all these other resources, like, a bit like what we're doing this morning, with using different resources to sort of learn more. And just pulled it up and up and up. And sure, then she swapped it with people, and other eyes saw different things, little corrections, but all one process. It just slowly, like the boat on the tide, it just slowly rose to this really, really good point. So, yeah, that's kind of best practice.
Is it true story or?
True. In nomine Padre et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. It's absolutely true.
Did Carrie just to follow like that or what?
She was. Hannah might even know her. She's from your community, Hannah. Yeah. So, Egyptian woman. Yeah, absolutely true. God's truth. All right, so with that in mind, have a swap. These are the sort of things you can do. Yeah, so we're swapping and we're looking purely at language today. Hopefully all the logic, the structure, the argument, all sorted. Read with your grammar spectacles, grammar glasses on. Right? Be tough. We've talked about this before. If you think something's spelt wrong, if you think there's some wrong grammar, correct it. You might be wrong. Doesn't matter. When you have the discussion in 10 minutes, someone will say, oh, I think this is right. Okay, get on, consult dictionaries, phones, realise you were wrong. Great, you've learned something, haven't you? If you were right, they learned something. So please mark it fairly aggressively.
Now are you talking about not the culture?
Not the cultural transition. We're talking about the monster essay.
Do you know yesterday you teach us the reference?
Yes.